Jehovah's Witnesses call themselves the happiest people on earth. They have the best life ever. But despite this claim, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are lonely. I was one of them for many years. And I get emails from people who are saying, like, I don't really understand certain things about my Jehovah's. I've talked about this before, like my Jehovah's Witness cousin or my coworker, or I have this friend in school and something just seems off about them. Loneliness plays a huge factor, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that. I kind of just wanted to give you a little insight into what they're dealing with and what they're never going to tell you. Outsiders are dangerous. So first of all, what you have to understand is that Jehovah's Witnesses are taught that everyone who is not a Jehovah's Witness is potentially dangerous. Some Jehovah's Witnesses truly believe this and they internalize it, and so they do fear the outside world. Others know in their gut that it's BS, but they're still indoctrinated, and so they'll still try to do the right thing and only associate with fellow Jehovah's Witnesses. In my experience, there were two types of people. In one camp, you got people who are just completely ignorant of the witnesses. They don't know anything about them, don't care to, they don't think anything of it. There was no way for them to grasp the degree of control and inner workings of witness world. So they only saw Jehovah's Witness Bethany. They only saw one version of me. So basically I had a good rapport with people and I got along with people, but it was all very surface level because I had to make sure that I was on my best behavior and protecting the organization at all costs. In practical terms, that meant no birthday parties, no hanging out with the coworkers at the bar after work. You learn as a Jehovah's Witness to keep people at arm's length. And so, like well-meaning, normal people just kind of scratch their head at this. They don't get it. Like, you never lead on that you're unhappy or lonely as a Jehovah's Witness because it will shatter the perfect image that Jehovah's Witnesses work so hard to project. So like you have one camp who like doesn't really get it, but they're like, whatever. Hey, you go to your Jehovah church and that's fine. It doesn't click. But then you have another group who does know the witnesses, and they are trying to lead you away, but not because they're trying to get you to smoke crack or they're trying to hurt you. They just want you to think for yourself. They're kind of frustrated. They can see that something's wrong. They can see 10 steps ahead, but this camp doesn't understand that if you're too pushy, first of all, you never tell someone who's in a cult they're in a cult. That's just rule number one. But they also don't understand that if you're a little too pushy, it can make the witness feel attacked. Even though they're lonely and they want that connection, they might feel attacked and retreat. So either way, they end up feeling isolated and weird, but they are under intense social, emotional, and psychological pressure. Friends in the organization. So the flip side of this argument, which is valid, and I understand why people might think this. Okay, fine, they can't be friends with outsiders, but they have isn't that the whole point of having their own religious community? Can't they just make friends with other Jehovah's Witnesses? The problem is that friendship, like any relationship, is predicated on a threat. What's the threat? If you're not our friend, you must automatically be our enemy. It's not like, oh, well, I have my church friends, I have my Jehovah's Witness friends, and then at work or school or whatever, I also have my friends over there, and it doesn't work that way. Like in the Jehovah's Witnesses, you can't have both. You are taught that the only friend you can have, the only kind of friend that's trustworthy and of value is a friend of Jehovah. Translation, you should only have Jehovah's Witness friends because they will make sure that you toe the line of the Watchtower organization. So I've said this before, that making friends in a high control group or a cult is like throwing a bunch of toddlers in a sandbox. Aw, you want to play? We're just automatically friends. We belong to the same mission. We belong to the same group. When adult friendships are way more complex. You have very different tastes and interests and preferences, but none of that matters. The only thing that matters in the Jehovah's Witnesses is the religious component. Are you in the safe group? Are you one of us? Now, if you're a true believer, you're probably going to be okay. You'll find like-minded individuals and you'll buddy up. But when you're a born-in and you don't click with your Jehovah's Witness peers, you can be in a really lonely spot. Okay, think about it. You can't nurture outside relationships, outside friendships, even if you have way more in common with those people. Remember, keep them at arm's length. But then on the other hand, your own tribe, really, you don't really relate to them. These are the people that you're stuck with. You got to see them week in and week out. You just try to make the best of it. And that's not to say that they're all bad or that, there's not nice witnesses, but it is very surface level. Remember, you're all part of the same sandbox. You definitely can't express doubts, but you can't express yourself in any way that deviates from the group think. So it creates loneliness, you know? You might get a lecture, your friends might snitch on you. You can't be authentic. I know that word, get everybody sick of that word, but you cannot be your genuine self. You definitely can't criticize the organization. You do that and your friends will evaporate in a heartbeat. The dating pool. Okay, another major reason Jehovah's Witnesses are lonely is because the dating pool is extremely limited. One, you can't have sex before marriage, so a lot of witnesses end up getting married by the time they graduate high school. All right, simple math. The likelihood of you finding someone you're compatible with is drastically reduced if you wait any longer than this. All right? So if you don't get married between the ages of 18 and 21, in Jehovah's Witness culture, you've crossed into spinster territory. But then to make matters worse, they insult single witnesses by telling them, oh, you're single and lonely, that's okay. Your sacrifice isn't for nothing. It's actually a good thing that you're single because then you can dedicate more time to the organization, preaching and doing busy work. It makes their pain and their loneliness that much worse. I mean, you could argue that they're not being shamed because in some cultures and religions, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? That, you know, maybe like in the Mormons, if you're not 17 and popping out babies, something's wrong. But in the Jehovah's Witnesses, like this gaslighting of like, don't insult my intelligence. I just haven't been able to find a compatible mate yet. So don't push this on me that, oh, well, maybe if this is for a reason. Like, oh, thank you. Hadn't thought of it that way. Now I can push more product for you. Now, two, how do I explain this? Congregation hopping so you can find a mate. Any kind of mixers, casual dating, anything like that is highly discouraged. It's not a thing. So it's not like, hey, you want to get married, you're having a hard time finding a husband or a wife. Don't just stay here in your congregation. Go. There's congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses all over the world. You know, I know somebody. My buddy has a daughter. My friend has a brother. I know someone who knows somebody who knows it. They don't do that stuff. Or they kind of do it, but it's not like a thing, case-by-case basis on a hush-hush basis. Instead, OGs in the comments, you know I speak no lie. Brothers and sisters, we don't want to use the meetings and our conventions as a pickup spot. Where the fuck else are they supposed to look? All right, let's use our brains. If the sole criteria for marriage is they have to be a witness, where else are they going to look? And if there are no eligible bachelors, or I haven't been able to find Sister Right at my local hall, I'm just supposed to stay in one spot in my congregation and just kind of wait till he or she magically appears? This is completely unrealistic and has led to untold numbers of really lonely, involuntarily celibate witnesses well into their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And then the inner monologue starts. Well, I must be unlovable. I'm never going to find anybody. There must be something wrong with me. I'm going to die a virgin. Oh, and that's another qualifier I want to add here that I know this might come as a shocker to Jehovah's Witness leadership, but that's not the only thing that people want. They want companionship. They want a partner to build their life with. So this whole thing of only focusing on sex all the time is insulting because you're assuming that's the only thing that people want, that's the only thing on their minds. And by the way, why wouldn't it be on their minds if they've been tightly wound and kept their pants zipped for 30, 40, 50 years? So, because Jehovah's Witnesses approach sex from an extremely cringy, unrealistic, infantile manner, you got all these lonely, depressed people, you know, who can't find someone who they're compatible with. They've never held hands with the opposite sex, and they're addicted to porn. Worldly family. And finally, another reason that Jehovah's Witnesses are lonely is that they are not allowed, or they're at least highly discouraged, from forming close personal relationships or bonds with their own blood relatives who are not Jehovah's Witnesses. This is a big one. I did a video last year, my cousin is a Jehovah's Witness, explaining odd Jehovah's Witness behaviors. I'll leave a link to that video below. A lot of people reached out to me and they were like, this describes like literally my cousin or my niece or whatever. Thank you so much for making this because I didn't know what to make of their behavior. They're really awkward. They say this. They seem really withdrawn. It helped explain a lot of behaviors from their Jehovah's Witness relatives that the Jehovah's Witness relative is not going to explain to them. And this one's also tricky because it can go one of two ways. On the one hand, you have worldly family who they're kind of like what I described in that first point, that first camp of people who are like, oh, that's cool. You're a Jehovah's Witness. That's fine. You do you. They don't think anything of it. You guys get along pretty well. Or the organization does drive a serious wedge between family members. Like there's serious problems or contention. And then there's consequences to this and fallout that affects second generation. This tends to happen, I'll explain, with second and third generation witnesses. Mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, they're the ones who were witnesses that either converted or whatever. That's where it came from. You're a Jehovah's Witness today because grandma and grandpa or mom and dad are witnesses. You didn't choose it, you didn't elect it, but you have to deal with the consequences. Aunt so-and-so and mom have this problem because of the truth. This one, uncle so-and-so and dad have a problem because of the organization. Yeah, thanks guys. So now I can't be close with my family because of your decision. This is the hill you decided to die on. So you have some Jehovah's Witnesses who are really lonely because they just happen, it's just circumstances. They're just caught in the middle of all of this. It happened to me. My cousin video, I call my actual cousin in Long Island, and you can listen for yourself. She says that she saw the struggle that I was going through and that I wanted to be close to her, but it was weird and it was like this awkward back and forth dance. So again, why do I bring all this up? If you have a Jehovah's Witness relative, friend, coworker, any advice I would have is just be chill about it and meet them where they're at. I'm not saying you have to agree with them or take their literature or anything like that. I'm just saying you can't force them awake. Because I get a lot of people reaching out to me saying that. They're just like, man, I feel so bad for this person. Fill in the blank, whoever that person is. They want to help. And I say you help by being kind, being loving, being accepting. Because I guarantee you, if they wake up, they will remember you. I had a dear friend in middle school. We kind of kept in touch through our 20s here and there. And then when I left the organization in 2017, she was literally on my speed dial. I've known this bitch since she was 12. I love her to death. She couldn't rescue me. I had to wake up and deal with the fallout. And that's the last point that I actually want to end this on. This video, my intention in making this video was not, oh, boo-hoo, poor, sad, lonely Jehovah's Witnesses. I want to bring attention to it because they will never talk about it themselves. But then also, maybe they need to realize that the consequences for leaving are worth it. In order to create a life for themselves to where they're not lonely, they might just need to wrap their brain around the fact that there's going to be collateral. And that's not a choice that they should have to make. I'm not trying to be cold or heartless about this at all. I had the consequences I had to deal with. I lost my parents overnight. It's not right. No one should have to choose between their family, people that they love, assuming they love their family. They shouldn't have to make that choice of, do I pick my family or do I pick my freedom and not being lonely anymore? But you could also argue that it speaks to the quality of the relationship with your parents or your Jehovah's Witness family if your relationship with them is built on conditional love. It's unfortunate, but maybe they have to go through that fire. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a good week, and I'll see you soon.